Hi, so I'm Faye Val. I studied in Delft. I did a bachelor's in mechanical engineering, and then I did 2 masters, one in material science engineering and the other one in industrial ecology. And before this, I grew up in Shanghai, but I am originally from the Netherlands, so I spent 18 years in China and then 8 years in the Netherlands.
Why did you decide to pursue an internship in the US, and essentially why did you apply to this program?
So because I grew up in Shanghai, I always grew up with a really international background, so a lot of my friends went to the US. And I've also just spent a lot of time in Asia. And then after being in Europe for 8 years, I just realized I hadn't seen the other side, like the US, or hadn't been to the US before. And then next to that, I just have an engineering background, always been very curious in entrepreneurship. I've also participated in this MIT boot camp in Japan once, and I got really intrigued by how entrepreneurship goes in the US. And then I also surf, so San Francisco kind of brings that all together.
Yeah. Can you tell me a bit more about the internship itself? So what's the company, what's your role, what have you been focusing on, and how long have you been here, and how long will you still be here?
So I'm working for Cuberg, and we're currently developing lithium metal battery cells for electric aviation, as well as other high performance applications such as super or hyper cars, other forms of electric mobility. And right now I'm on the strategy team, so we're really looking at the company's long-term strategy. Technically, we call ourselves a startup, but we already have about 150 people, so we're really in that scale-up phase, and it's really interesting to just see how, I've worked for startups before in the Netherlands, and this is actually a whole different setting because you get to see how a company is going from 60 people to 150 people in a year, and now by the end of the year we expect to have 250. And since I've been here, I started off by looking a little bit at sustainability, but right now we're really trying to grow the company and make plans for the future. So, and what type of people will we need, how we should develop our product, what type of equipment, what type of factories we need to build, who our customers should be, what our sales needs to do. So it's all very practical.
How did you land this internship?
So I applied to the internships in the Valley program because I realized that to get into the US, it's really difficult in terms of visa. You don't have the connections, and internships in the Valley seem to really offer that link to the US that you need to find companies, and that's actually exactly what happened. I applied in October, and in July they contacted me with a company that they thought would be interesting for me. I had a call with the HR, or the head of people, and I also had a call with the strategy manager, and it went really well. And
how did the internship experience compare to the expectation before you arrived?
I'd say the internship experience is, it just has taught me a lot about the culture. I think I wasn't expecting to have such a big culture shock because I went to an international school in Shanghai, so I'm used to having a very diverse environment. But the American entrepreneurial culture is very different from in the Netherlands, or I think in Europe. The mindset here is a lot like go do it, dream big, and just make it work, rather than in the Netherlands where it's a lot more hesitant and risk averse. So that's been really interesting to see.
What advice would you give to other female candidates who are searching for an internship in the US, particularly if they're feeling intimidated or discouraged about the process?
I think one of the most important things is probably to use your network and just go for it and try. My personal idea is that I think that a lot of people have this idea of Silicon Valley and that it can be kind of intimidating, and that people then often maybe just hesitate or don't even want to apply. But I do think we need a lot more women. If you look at all of the people that I've met here, most of the companies are still mostly men. Even Cuberg also still is looking for more women. So we really need more women, and I'd love to see more students from Delft or from other universities as well. Because right now we only have 2 female interns. And
how did you go about networking and building connections while you were in the US? And what would your advice be for other interns who are looking to do the same?
So that is definitely my favorite part about being here. The networking culture here is insane. There is an event you could go to every single day of the week, and there are hundreds of them. What I did was I actually just started Googling a lot on LinkedIn as well. Just started following company pages, started following and subscribing to newsletters, and then you actually have I think one of the newsletters called SF in Real Life, where they just send you a weekly digest of all of the events going on. I just started going there, and once I started going to events and meeting people, I started getting invited to other events. If you're interested in AI, there's specific newsletters. Sustainability has specific ones. Almost every single branch within tech or engineering, or maybe even other branches too, has their own niche market and their communities that organize events on a daily basis. Another cool thing maybe to keep in your mind is also there's SF Tech Week, which is happening at the beginning of June, and SF Climate Week happens in April. And those are also great events to check out.
Why do you think the US is a great place to kickstart your career?
I think actually the most is the growth opportunities, and what I was just mentioning is the lack of risk aversion, so everybody just goes to try things. And I don't think I've seen people here get as much responsibility and as many opportunities to step up as you do in the Netherlands. In the Netherlands, there's a very clear trajectory. It's like kind of slow and steady wins the race. You have to do this for 2 years, you have to do that for 5 years, and here, if you prove yourself and if you show what you can do, you just keep getting given more opportunities. And that's something I've also been given in my internship right now, is that just now I was in a meeting with all of the senior leaders of the company where we were discussing our strategy. Which I don't know if in the Netherlands an intern would be welcome to a meeting like that.
What is your top piece of advice for future candidates?
Yeah, I think I already said this, but I still think it is leveraging your network and actually trying to get those personal intros. I have noticed, even though I'm here in person, when I send people messages on LinkedIn that are also in San Francisco, they still don't respond to my messages. So maybe first one, don't be discouraged because it's nothing personal. It's really the culture here. People get hundreds of messages. I've also noticed since arriving that my LinkedIn message inbox has suddenly exploded. So just the likelihood of that working is really small. If you know people that have connections here, ask around and they will be able to introduce you, and that will get you so much further, and you'll be using your energy a lot more efficiently.